The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Bermuda's Feel Good Early Morning Show. Good day, Bermuda. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jacky Lambert, and we are ready to bring you some feel good vibes this morning. Today, we are chatting with lawyer Arianna Caines and how she charted her own path and staying true to who she is. We also have a feel good vibe later on in the show to celebrate a recent graduate, so do make sure you stick around for that. But before we get into all of that, let's start with our feel good warm up, which we're going to do a quick audience shout out to those who were watching our episode yesterday live. We had Taja Fox on talking about prioritizing your mental health. And one thing that Kenneth Scott said about that episode was that it was some great advice. So shout out to Taja for joining us yesterday. Now, if you missed that episode, don't worry, because the replay is available on our YouTube channel as well as Facebook and our Twitter page. At Good Day Bermuda, you can find us on pretty much all social media platforms. We don't use Twitch though, so don't look for us there. But we are on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So do make sure if you're not already following us that you follow us and that you share us with your family and friends. I want to give a good morning to Sean Smith, who is joining us, as well as Kivane Hayes. Good morning to the both of you. Our first, we do have two questions today for our question of the morning. The first one I really wanted to get into is what are the weekend plans? Because it's Friday. I know everyone's already low-key ready for the weekend, even though, and this was a short week. We only had 4 work days. Well, I had all days off, but it was a short work week. So let us know in the comments what you have planned for this weekend. Jack and I would definitely start that conversation, let y'all know where you might see us outside, but let us know in the comments what you have planned for this upcoming weekend. Jack, what you doing?
So I'm actually kind of off today, because I'm here. Guys, hi, happy Friday. But a few of my friends are coming over around 1-ish because it's one of them's birthday it was yesterday. So we're going to come, lay by with the pool, have a few drinks, pop a few bottles, and I might actually go get Terri. I haven't told her yet. Shh, don't tell her. But I might just pop up and grab her. And then we're supposed to go on a cruise this evening, so Terri will be joining me for that. Right, Terri?
No, actually not. So the intention was, so full disclosure, the intention was Jackie had 2 events that she was going to this weekend. And so I had tentative plans and they weren't confirmed. So I was like, okay, let me see about these tentative plans and see what day they're going to confirm them. And of course they confirmed them for tonight. And I was like, okay, well, this was before you had said about possibly not doing the other event. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. I still could go out with Jack on Saturday.
Well, you can still go out with me on Saturday because I'm 78% sure I'm going.
Okay, it was listen, yesterday Jackie was I don't think I'm going. I said, okay, that's fine. We could do
I hit my
else.
Introverted stage. My social clock was overrun, and I was just I don't know if I could do it. I don't think I can do it because I have to do tomorrow, and then Saturday I'm just wow, that's a lot. But then I realized I have nothing planned for Sunday, so I can decompress and cleanse from all the different energies from this weekend. So I feel that'll be a good Zen realign my chakra moment on on Sunday.
So Jack and I may get together on Saturday. We'll see. The jury's still out. We're both low-key introverts, so we both might be like, I might be like, you know what, Jack, that was nice, but
Say,
no thanks.
You'd be like, yeah, I'm not coming. I'm like, oh my God, thank goodness, because I don't want to go. It just works out that way sometimes, the stars align.
Let us know in the comments what plans you have for this weekend. It is Friday. If you are getting ready for your work day, it's one more day until the weekend. Just one more. Just hold on. All you got to do is get to 5 o'clock and you can check the thesis and have your 2-day vacation, aka the weekend. Let us know in the comments, Jack. So the event that you're planning on going to this evening, though, like without giving everybody too much information about it, because we're actually going to talk about it next week, Tuesday, for our Travel Tuesday feature. But like, let them know, like, okay, what are you doing? Are you like going to be on land? Are you going to be on a boat? Are you going to be at like an exclusive location? Like, just give a little, sprinkle a little something in there.
It's not, so tonight's not really an exclusive location. I love how you said the exclusive location. I have a friend that's trying to do some promo videos on a boat. So he asked if I can gather a group of friends to help him have a good time. And I was just like, I'm queen of helping people have a great time.
Right.
I'm not queen. I'm like princess. I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. Princess is way easier. Less pressure. Fun work. So yeah, I am supposed to be going on a boat tonight, do a little sunset cruise for a few hours, and then come back and never know how we feel. We might hit the town because there's no curfew, or may throw a house party. Who knows? I'm gonna leave just blowing in the wind, whichever way.
Blowing with the wind, wherever the wind blows, Jackie will be there. Well, and let's talk about that real quickly before we bring Ariana into the conversation, because there's no curfews. Bermuda's back open. There's no curfew. We still have
I still have a curfew.
Right, and that's what I was gonna say. Like, we still have like semi restrictions, but I have seen a few people on social media say, like, even though certain things are being relaxed, they're still keeping or maintaining their kind of household restrictions or their own personal restrictions. So let us know in the comments if you don't have any plans set just yet for the weekend. How do you feel about, like, the restrictions being lifted, and how are you like adjusting to those restrictions? Are you like, okay, yes, we're wide open, let's do this? Or are you still kind of taking it slowly, gradually, re-engaging with people, socializing again? Let us know in the comments. We have a comment here from Sean Smith. Jack?
Nothing much, a bit of work, schoolwork, and I might fly my drone this weekend with my son. I have a love-hate relationship with drones because there's somebody that always flies them at Bernard's Park, and he has I think it's like a racer one, so he always zips it through the trees, but he's not very good at it because it always gets stuck in the trees. So for like an hour, all you hear is, yeah, and you're just like, I already have to deal with these 6 kites that are flying around while I'm teaching. I can't hear myself. I have to bring my student like this close to me so we can hear what each other's saying. And it's just a lot. It's a lot. And they always want to just invade your privacy. So,
because I remember at one point you couldn't have drone. Like, you couldn't just have a drone. Like, you have to get like a commercial license or some like special thing in order to have a drone. And now I feel like more people have that. Maybe he is still maybe he's one of those people that have. Maybe he's learning. You know what? Let's give that pilot man, some grace. Maybe he's just like, he's just trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work for his drone. We'll give it. It was
funny because he took his shoe off and he was throwing it at the tree, and then his shoe got stuck, and I was just like,
everything's stuck.
Is this real? Because this feels like something out of a movie.
It is not working. So we have a comment here from Anika Deshil. She says she's still being cautious when it comes to those restrictions being lifted. And I honestly feel like, as much as we may gripe on social media with the government around the restrictions and whether they make sense or they don't make sense, at the end of the day, you can still make your own decisions for your life if there are no more restrictions, no matter where you go in the world. You can decide to quarantine yourself if you want to, if you're not comfortable with the, going straight out, if it's a foreign country that you've never been to. So I definitely feel like, I agree with Anika. I'm definitely like someone who's going to take in strides. We have a comment here from Michael Anthony Musson. He said he still wants to know when Terry's going to do tennis with Jack. So the thing is, I don't know if you were on the episode, Mike, when I had mentioned that is a goal of mine. And the intention was for Jack and I to do that this week. But the way this week happened, it hasn't happened just yet. But Jackie and I live really close to each other. So if she has free time one day, or if I have free time one day, we can definitely zip on down to the tennis stadium and get you some of that content, because I feel like you want to see this. Like, I feel like you don't even want to just hear us talk about it. Like, because even if we said we went, he's gonna be like, but I want to see, what did it look like?
He doesn't just want to, see the video. He wants to be there to giggle.
Okay, so he wants to be the spectator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike actually used to be an umpire, so he knows how to do the linesman and all that stuff.
Oh, well, we might just have to make it a good day for the date. That sounds like what we're going to do. Good morning to you, Rochelle Sumner. At this point in the show, we're going to go ahead and bring in Ariana Caines, who, if you didn't know, is the granddaughter of Dame Lois Brown Evans. And we are talking about how she charted her own path. So let's bring Ariana into the conversation. Hello, Ariana.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So Ariana, for those that don't know who you are, your story, tell us a little bit about your background, your family history, and how you began to navigate your particular path into law.
Yes, so I grew up in Philadelphia, but I'm born here in Bermuda to my lovely parents, Kenneth Caines and Tina Evans. My grandmother was indeed Dame Lois Brown Evans. And to me, she was always just Nana. And we had a beautiful relationship growing up. She'd come visit me in the States. And that's really how I had my first exposure to the law, was watching legal dramas with her on television. And then from there, kind of just fell in love with courtroom advocacy, fell in love with specifically looking at areas related to financial crime. I came back to Bermuda when I was 16, turning 17, went to Berkeley, and I'm a proud member of Gold House. And absolutely. And from there, ended up in the United Kingdom, where I got my law degree. I did my bar professional training, and I practiced for a little bit as a criminal defense barrister before moving back here.
Awesome.
You had me many. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna. No, we were gonna like stay on the Barkley comment for a little while.
That's where I was going. I'm just like, I was with you with Barkley, and then you said Gold House, and I was just like,
it's fine, Ariana. It's fine. I was on Gold House, so it's okay. I was gonna ask, what year did you graduate? Because Jack and I both went to Barkley as well.
I graduated in 2013.
Okay, I was 07, and Jack were 06?
Well, I was supposed to be 06, but I left and I went to Tennis Academy. So yeah, I dipped out right there when Gabisi started to love me the most. I was like semi her favorite, but Mrs. Robinson, she was my girl. She used to sign all my waivers to travel. She'd be like, so I know Miss Gabisi is gonna be like, you're traveling again. I'm like, but I'm representing Bermuda. So I used to go in and then take a detour.
I love that. Oh my God. No, Miss Gabisi was Miss Simmons when I was there, and I'd like to think that I was her favorite as well. But I hope I'm not overstepping by saying that. We'll find out after this airs.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. She's allowed to have all the favorites as long as I'm not the worst, I'm fine with that. As long as I'm not at the bottom. Now, you were saying that you used to watch law dramas. Can you tell us which ones inspired you the most? Because obviously you watch a show, because it's probably the same with tennis. I watched and played tennis, Venus, Serena, and you cling to them. Which show really inspired you to go towards law the most?
It was definitely Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Yes.
And Law and Order generally. And that was the show that I honestly sat there with my Nana in our living room in Philly, and we would just watch the marathons that would come on right after Christmas and into New Year's. And we would just watch episode after episode. And it was really the skill of it. Watching those dramatic scenes in court, which unfortunately you don't often get things like that, but they do come periodically. But it was just watching that and the artistry and the skill of it. I said, like, that's incredible. But I always say now, like, I had no idea who I was sitting next to. I should have just leaned over and asked my Nana to tell me some stories. But here we are. And it really did expose me to, I think, the art of advocacy. And I fell in love.
Awesome. Now, I do want to let the audience know that if you have any questions for Ariana, if you have any comments for Ariana about herself, her grandmother, do make sure you drop them in the comments, because we will bring them into the conversation so that we can get your questions answered as well. Go ahead, Jack.
So I grew up always hearing about your grandmother, like always, always. Everything was inspiring. She stood her ground. And I mean, I met her a few times and I was always intimidated because you hear how people stand their ground and stuff like that. But she made such a huge and positive difference in our community. And I did read an article where you said that you wanted to do the same, come back and make a difference in the community that did so much for you. What are some things that you actually want to do? Because obviously we have our personal opinions of how things should look and, you know, how we want to achieve those things. What does it look like for you? What are some things you want to do and change?
For me, it's really about using the skills that I've learned abroad to benefit in any way I can here in Bermuda. That was always my goal. That was always my hope. Was I'm spending so much time in the United Kingdom specifically. I spent 6 years there. And so I knew that I wanted it to be for something. And when I came back, to be able to give back to the community. Specifically, I did quite a bit of work with vulnerable people in the United Kingdom, specifically in the courts. So working with those who were coming from domestic violence backgrounds, working with youths, working with those who were maybe not native speakers, working with those who maybe were illiterate. And so it was always to me very impactful to see how the legal system and often, I mean, the benefit system and just our society as a whole sometimes can forget the importance of making sure that those who maybe don't have access to all of the same education or are used, and so they're not legally allowed to make some of the decisions that they are well qualified to speak up and make decisions on, making sure and ensuring that they have a voice and that they have an opportunity for protection and representation in society. And so that's an area that I'm definitely passionate about, and I'm looking to getting in touch with charities here in Bermuda and looking at further. But that's really my passion area, is providing a voice to those who need it most. I mean, that's really what an advocate does at the end of the day.
That's awesome. And we actually have a question coming in here from the audience. So, you know, you mentioned a little bit about your story, your education in the UK and then coming back to Bermuda. So we have a question from Sean Smith. He asks, were you called to the bar in her building? And if so, how did that feel?
I was. And it was just an incredible moment. It all happened very quickly with me. We weren't supposed to, getting the date, it all happened within a week or so. And so we didn't know where it was supposed to be. We didn't know if it was going to be on Zoom, if it was going to be in person, and finding out that they had not only said yes to it being in person, said yes to it happening 3 days after what would have been her 94th birthday, but also for it to be in the building named after her, was just such a beautiful full circle moment. And also for me, it's always been about doing her legacy proud, but also making my mom proud, because she put in so much effort into making sure that I could be a barrister. And so I knew it was such an impactful moment for both of us. And I'm just really grateful that I was able to experience that.
I love that. So it actually brings me into my next thing when you were talking about your mom. So a lot of the things that we achieve, and you've achieved a lot at such a young age, to me, because I know, but we always look at our support system. So what did your support system look like? Was it just you and your mom, your dad, what you have your friends, and of course your friends also impact how you go out there and achieve. They can either make you complacent or they can push you forward to achieve your goals. But how was that? How did that affect you? How was yours growing up?
Honestly, Jackie, I have the most incredible support system. None of this would be possible without the people who have poured into me. And I'm very conscious of the fact that, I had to go in and sit the exams and do the work and all of that. But I am really a mosaic and representation of all of the love, effort, prayers, financial support that was supporting me over the course of my journey. My incredible mother, my father, who always encouraged me to do my best, never let me settle for less. And if I did, he was there to encourage me and remind me that, that's okay. But if you want to do better next time, you can do that too. My wonderful sister, my brother, and then I have a beautiful tribe of aunties who have stepped in. Both my Aunt Nadine, who's my mom's sister, but also my aunties who are family friends who have stepped in and treated me as their own at every step along the way. And I really couldn't have done it without them. And very patient friends who always knew that the law came first with me and never judged me for missing a party to study. And so I had a beautiful system.
So we actually had Taja Fox on from Bliss Women yesterday, and we were talking about mental health, but not just mental health for women, but Black women. And I love that you spoke about how you had a tribe of aunts and your mother and your grandmother and stuff like that. But how do you make sure that your mental health is protected? Because most people that travel the world that are out there helping, we're empaths. So we take on a lot of the emotions and we don't actually expel them and cleanse. But how do you protect yourself to be able to get up and do it over again and over again to fight for justice?
I love that question. And I think it's a question that we should ask each other more often, because oftentimes we glorify the end, but we don't actually talk about all the steps that come towards it. And so from an outside perspective, it could be looked at as, you just accomplished these things and it just came overnight. No, it was a struggle to get here. And the way I learned to do it was definitely leaning on faith. And leaning into prayer, into trusting God and the journey that He has set down for me, and being very willing to yield and to say, your will, not mine, which is a very difficult prayer to pray. And a lot of things change after you pray that prayer. And additionally, for me, it was within the last year, especially with the pandemic, I was living in London by myself in a 1-bedroom apartment, still practicing. And so it was day in, day out, either work or going to court. And it was grueling on my mental health and trying to find ways to stay balanced. I did so through meditation. I did so through healthy exercise, eating right, but also I invested in therapy and used therapy as a way of self-care and allow myself to talk and to process and to work through different things that I was feeling, and to allow myself 50 minutes of that space every week for it to be my own really was important and helped me kind of take away the stigma that we sometimes have in the Black community around therapy, and looking at the importance of the fact that this is important to make sure that I am good and whole. And that's really been it for me for the past year. That's been probably the game changer for sure.
That is awesome. And so earlier you mentioned that you got close to the bar in your grandmother's building. And so we have a comment from Anika Deshio. She says, excellent achievements. So sending some love to you, because that is an achievement, right? I mean, to kind of follow in her footsteps in such a way. And like you said, it was a full circle moment. I think that is beyond Black excellence, Black Bermudian excellence. Like, I think that's just like the pinnacle of it all.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely huge. And like you think about, obviously your support system and everybody that's backed you, and it doesn't sound like you were forced into law. Like, some people, they grow up and their parents are like, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be whatever that makes the most money, But it sounds like you actually had the passion to go about things on your own. And though this isn't a question, I just want to say kudos to you and your family, because a lot of people have that pressure of being great. And it seems like you have the most beautiful support system that allowed you to just flourish and blossom into the amazing woman that you are today. So that's my comment. But I do have one question, because I grew up watching Donald Evans, your uncle, play tennis, and he was actually one of the best tennis players. So though I don't remember if your grandmother played tennis, I do want to know, how is your tennis? And if you aren't starting tennis, how do we get you on the tennis court?
Oh man, well, I am no good at tennis. I do have a memory though of Uncle Donald taking us around the tennis court, and I remember looking at him being like, this is really nice for you. Like, this is amazing. But no, I got my mama's genes, sir. I am not tall enough and coordinated enough for this one. He got all the height in the family. Yeah. But no, my tennis is no good, but I love watching it. That's where I'll leave it there. And I love watching my uncle. He still plays. He's still a beast on the court. And his son is actually a major force on the basketball court. So they hold it down for the Evans side of the family in sports. And I hold it down in the law.
That is
balance
awesome.
it out.
We do have to keep it balanced. And so speaking of sports, and earlier you mentioned like how you protect your mental health. We have a question from the audience. Sean Smith asks, what do you enjoy doing in your spare time? Sports, reading, etc. Like, so let us know, like, in talking about like how you do protect your mental health, what are some of the things that you like to do in addition to what you shared before?
I love to bake. Really love baking. Reading as well. Anything by a Black author talking about Black experiences, I'll read it. I'm down. So I love reading as well. Music. Both of my parents, when they met, they were DJs here in Bermuda. And so music was always a part of our household. And my sister's a singer. And so I absolutely adore just kicking back, listening to some music. And yeah, just enjoying time like that, allowing myself the space to do so.
Now, can you sing?
Because
you do talk about, your faith, your church, going to church or whatever. So most people that have a little bit of musical background may have some vocals, or maybe can you hold a little note?
I can hold a little note, but it's hilarious to me because I can get up and speak and talk. Put me in front of a mic and ask me to sing. I'm shaking. My voice is unsteady. It is not any good. So I can hold a note when there's no one else in the room. But you put me in front of people, all of a sudden it's like, ooh, no. But I'll give you a speech. I will give you.
You sound like the perfect shower singer, That's the audience right there, just you. And we love the acoustics in there, right? It just makes your voice sound so much better. It's like a perfect echo.
I am Mariah Carey in there. It is incredible.
So what is the genre that you prefer to listen to when you're trying to decompress? I have to ask that question.
A bit of everything. Really, I don't have anything too specific. If I'm really in a state and I need to get myself together, some Hezekiah Walker comes on one time, get my gospel in, but really to kind of decompress, I'll turn on Coltrane. I really will, and just sit there and listen to my jazz. And I understand this, that makes me sound like an old grandma, but that is really the one that I'll reach for first. And then kind of go from there. And then somehow we end up at like Meg the Stallion. So it's very wide.
I'm going to blame YouTube for that because I usually start with classical. And then next thing you know, I'm listening to like Evanescence. And then it switches up again. And I'm like, who is making this playlist? YouTube. But I do want to switch back over to the hours that you said that you've had to put in, the studying, the exams. And not a lot of people know how much work and time and effort goes into becoming a lawyer. Can you tell us, of course, from like primary school all the way up? So I'm not sure if you were, at what age did you set your course to be a lawyer and then just really spearhead into that?
I knew very early. So I would say definitely before I was 10, I knew. And I remember telling my grandmother that I wanted to be a lawyer. And I told her, Nana, but I don't want to be a lawyer like you because you only cared about helping people. I want to make money. And I proceeded to walk her through my fees. And I had to have been maybe about 7 or 8 when I did this and walked her through how much I would charge for a telephone call, etc. Later did criminal law and helped people as the start of my career. But yeah, so from probably around elementary school, I knew, which is why I'm so grateful to my parents because they saw that in me. They saw it was real and they just continued to honor and affirm that as I grew up. I was always very confident that I would do it somehow. I just never really knew the details. So it was a lot of kind of trial and error and testing it out. I ended up going to school. I was at Spelman College in the United States for 4 months before I technically dropped out of that and technically became a college dropout before coming back home to Bermuda College and had a great time and an amazing experience repositioning my life before I actually went to law school. So there's a lot of, as I said before, a lot of valleys that you don't see. You just kind of see the peaks, but knowing very early on and having the goal in mind definitely kept me focused. Very Recipe K-F-M of it all.
Absolutely.
That is awesome.
Terri, where did you go to school in the States?
I actually went to Spelman. Actually, when you said you went to Spelman for 4 months, I was like, oh, you were a Spelman sis, but then you said you wrapped up. But I actually want to pause on that because I really feel like some people don't really know the story around like HBCUs and how sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming and difficult to experience if you were not expecting it to be like that. So if you could just share a little bit of like how you made that decision to like say, okay, you know what, this isn't for me, because my experience with Spelman was I love that place. Like that was definitely my place. But I have heard people who have gone to Spelman and then it just wasn't for them. So I just wanted you to maybe share like your experience with that, because I do feel like that part of the conversation gets kind of overlooked because you see all of the Black Girl Magic, Black Boy Joy, you see all of that when it comes to HBCUs, but you don't see people that have gone and say, you know what, this isn't for me.
Well, first of all, always an honor to share space with a Spelman woman.
Hey.
Like none, they are women like none other. For me, it was overwhelming, but not in a negative way. Like I kind of knew what to expect because I had grown up in the States. So I always really wanted to go to Howard. But I was very attracted to Spelman because Spelman, you know, was the number one. So I was like, I'm going to the best HBCU if I can go to an HBCU. And going there, I met the most incredible young women I've ever come across. I would sit there because I lived in LLC 1, which was the dorm for like the high achievers with the air conditioning. I was not that. I was in overflow housing there. And so I was around like Spelman's like incredible best of the best coming into my class. And you sit down with these young women, they're like, yeah, I started a charity, or I started this and I did that. And this is my 30-year plan. And this is my 40-year plan. And I'm like, oh, they're like, what do you want to do? I just want to be a lawyer. And it's like, well, what's going to be your purpose? What's this? And you start asking questions that I had never really asked of myself before. Like, what do I really want to do with this life? And how do I really want to give back to my community? Because yeah, becoming a lawyer is great and that's beautiful, but what does it mean if you're not giving back to our community? And that's what I learned from the women in the class of 2017, that it's so important to think beyond yourself and think in terms of service and in your community. And in doing that, I realized that I didn't want to be a lawyer in Philly doing human rights. I wanted to be a barrister in Bermuda, serving my community, which then I kind of was like, well, then why am I in America paying a mortgage to go to school when I need to be in the United Kingdom, getting my qualifications there? And that's kind of where it all took off from there.
Thank you for sharing that, because I really feel like that conversation, because I've met a few Spelman women that have started and then decided that it wasn't for them. And I know their personal stories, but I feel like everyone's story is different. And it's just amazing for you to share that, so that if there is a student that does decide that Spelman is the school they want to go to, or any HBCU is the school they want to go to, that, you know, it may not be a fit for you. And that doesn't mean you should stop. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't continue to go for your dream. So we have a question here from Carlton Fleming. He asks, did you ever feel like quitting while at law school?
Yes. Yes. I always felt like quitting while I was in law school. I always felt like quitting. But for me, it was with the knowledge that there was no safety net. So if I didn't do it, I had one shot. You know, we had one shot with the funding, one shot with the time, one shot with the energy. If I quit, that was it. And so I'd have to come back. I'd have to look my mom in the face like I did when I dropped out of Spelman, and look her in the face and say, here's what comes next. Yeah. And I didn't have a here's what comes next. And you don't go to Tina Evans without a here's what comes next. So if you want to live. So I never quit. I stuck with it with the knowledge of the fact that, you know, if this is what I want to do, this is what I'm going to do. And if I don't want to do this, I need to come up with something better. And I never really did. So I stuck with the dream.
That is awesome. So Ariana, as we wrap up, I did want to ask you if there's anyone watching who wants to follow in your footsteps, or maybe know someone that wants to get into law and they have a desire to reach out and connect with you, like what is the best way for them to do that in order to continue the conversation with you directly? So best way for me is very old school. I'm on email. It's A as in my name, Caines as in my last name, 104@gmail.com. I'm always happy to chat. As you can see, always happy to chat, especially about the law and especially about the process.
If you have any questions, please reach out. It can be daunting, but the more knowledge we know walking in, the better it is, especially for young Bermudians. I love to see us get in there and break the system. So please reach out.
Awesome.
Break that
Thank you once
system,
again.
yes.
Yes, break the barriers, break all the barriers, do all the things.
Yes.
Thank you once again, Ariana, for joining us. We appreciated you.
Thank you so much, y'all, and have a wonderful weekend.
You as well. Talk soon. That was awesome. Let us know in the comments what you thought about our conversation with Ariana. Do send us some love. What did they say? Smash the like, smash the love, give us a reaction. I don't know. We're gonna have to figure out our tag because we're like early. We don't want to like smash things first thing in the morning. We kind of want to make it feel good. So just like definitely make sure you hit the love button though. Definitely make sure you give us some love. And we want to say good morning to Nadine Henry. She is watching with us. Thank you for joining us. We're actually going to show you quickly the fitness challenge because yesterday we were supposed to show you all the fitness challenge, to kind of keep it that health and wellness vibe. But Jackie and I were we slacked off a little bit. So
just a touch of slack, a little bit.
So we are going to show you what this week's challenge is. So give me 1 minute to bring it in here and then show it. There you have it, folks. Squats. We're doing squats this week. So if you're just joining us or you haven't heard about the fitness challenge before, each and every week, Jackie and I add an additional exercise to the fitness challenge. We have done push-ups, skipping, plank, and now we are on squats. Next week, we will have a completely new exercise to add to it. So we encourage you to at least do the exercises 1 set, bare minimum. We do have categories. Beginners are up to 10 or up to a minute, depending on what the exercise is. Intermediate is up to 20 or up to 2 minutes. And then your advanced, if you can do 20 or more than 2 minutes. So feel free to follow us on social media at Good Day Bermuda. That's where we will post this particular video as well as all of the information on the fitness challenge for you to join. And we are also doing the self-love challenge put on by Bermuda Bliss Women. So if you haven't heard of it, do make sure you check out our Instagram story because we did post that to the Instagram and we're tagging as many people as we can on that post. So we have some love coming in to us, Jack. Deborah Lee Joe Bell says, an awesome interview. Well done, ladies. We also have this comment. Karen Edwards Simmons says, great interview with young Miss Caines. I have a comment here from Nadine, Jack.
I appreciate Ariana's candor. She's amazing.
Absolutely. And then we have another comment here from Sean Smith, Jack.
Great interview, great interview. You ladies are doing a wonderful job. Thank you.
We appreciate that. And as we wrap up, before we get into our feel good vibe of the day, we do want to remind you that at 8 o'clock, make sure you head over to watch the Daily Hour with Jamel and Michaela, where they will be having a conversation with MP Chris Famous to discuss governing from the backbench. And our feel good vibe today is we want to celebrate none other than young Mackenzie Tuckett. She is an amazing young woman. She is the youth premier of Bermuda, and she just recently graduated from Work Academy at class of 2021. You have probably heard her voice and her name as a reporter for Media Maya. She is doing so many amazing things around the island. So we do just want to send some love and some celebrating to her. So with that, as always, we hope that our Feel Good vibe of today has you ready to make it a great one today. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert. We trust we will see you next week. Same time, same place. Until the next episode, peace and have a good weekend and a good day, Bermuda.